Hey there, Virgo. I'm back and here for the reading. So, I am doing a reading for you. These are timeless readings for really whoever finds it, but I am titling it a Virgo reading, thinking of it from that perspective. So, thanks for joining me. Let's see what's going on. Really positive reading so far. Wow. Um,
Uh, Something hasn't been adding up, has it? You've been sensing inconsistencies, picking up on energy that doesn't match the story you're being told, noticing gaps between what someone says about your connection and what you actually feel when you tune into the truth beneath their words. Maybe you've been questioning yourself, wondering if you're being paranoid or reading too much into things. But what if I told you that what you've been sensing is absolutely accurate? That someone has been misrepresenting the nature of your connection, either to you directly or to others around them, and that misrepresentation is about to come into the light? Stay with me, because what's coming through about deception, truth, and the revelations heading your way might finally validate everything you've been feeling in your gut but couldn't quite prove with your mind. Let me tell you what I'm sensing in the energy right now. The first thing that's coming through is this frequency of distortion around your connection with someone. You might be experiencing a situation where the story being told about what exists between you doesn't match your lived experience of it. Maybe someone is downplaying the significance of your connection to others while acting completely different with you privately. Or perhaps someone is exaggerating intimacy or commitment to you while presenting themselves as completely available to others. Either way, there's a split between reality and representation, and you've been feeling that split even if you haven't had concrete evidence of it. Here's what you might be noticing: you're picking up on contradictions, things people have said that don't align with each other, energy that feels off when certain topics come up, a sense that you're not getting the full picture about how this person talks about you, thinks about you, or presents your connection to the world outside of your private interactions. And that dissonance has been creating unease in you, even if you've been trying to talk yourself out of it. What's emerging in the energy is that truth has a way of surfacing, especially when deception has been sustained for too long. You might be approaching a moment where information comes to light that confirms what you've been suspecting. This could arrive through a conversation, through someone else revealing something they thought you already knew, through technology exposing inconsistencies, or simply through your own intuition becoming so loud that you can no longer ignore what it's been trying to tell you. This reflection invites you to consider what you've already been sensing about the situation that you've been dismissing or rationalizing away, and what it would mean to trust that knowing. You might be wondering why someone would lie about their connection with you. What I'm picking up on is that lies about relationships often serve the person telling them, not the relationship itself. Someone might be misrepresenting your connection because they're trying to maintain multiple narratives simultaneously. They might want the intimacy you share privately while also preserving their image of availability or singleness publicly. Or they might be downplaying what you mean to them to protect their ego, to avoid admitting to themselves or others how much they actually care, how vulnerable they actually are. The energy is showing that these lies haven't been victimless. You've absorbed the impact of someone's dishonesty, even if you haven't fully understood what was happening. You might have felt confused about where you stand. You might have questioned your own perception of the connection. You might have felt crazy for sensing one reality while being told another. And that gaslighting, whether intentional or not, has been eroding your ability to trust yourself. What's interesting about this particular energy is that the exposure coming isn't necessarily something you're actively pursuing. You might not be investigating or confronting or demanding truth. What I'm sensing is that lies have their own life cycle, and this one is reaching its expiration. The effort required to maintain false narratives becomes unsustainable. People get sloppy. Stories stop lining up. The energy of deception becomes so heavy that it collapses under its own weight. You might be feeling anticipatory anxiety about what's going to be revealed. Part of you might want the truth, might be ready to finally have clarity about what's real and what's been fabricated. But another part of you might be afraid of what that truth will confirm, afraid it will hurt, afraid it will mean losing something you've been invested in, afraid it will prove that your intuition was right and the connection you thought you had was built on sand. What's coming through is that whatever gets exposed is ultimately serving you, even if it's painful in the moment. You deserve to operate from accurate information. You deserve to make choices about your connections based on truth, not on whatever version of reality someone else is curating to serve their needs. You deserve to know where you actually stand, not where you're being told you stand while the real story is hidden from you. This reflection invites you to consider how much energy you've been spending trying to make sense of inconsistencies and what would become available to you if you no longer had to do that work. You might be experiencing signs that the exposure is imminent, increased anxiety in this person when certain topics come up, more careful monitoring of their phone or their communications, more defensiveness when you ask simple questions, more distance as they try to manage the complexity of maintaining lies across multiple contexts. All of these are signals that someone is struggling to keep their constructed reality from crumbling. What I'm picking up on is that you're being prepared for this revelation, whether you realize it or not. Your intuition has been working overtime to help you see clearly, to notice patterns, to pick up on the energetic signatures of dishonesty. You've been gathering data subconsciously, and when the truth comes out, you might be surprised by how much you already knew, how much your body, your instincts, your deeper knowing had already figured out, even while your conscious mind was still trying to trust what you were being told. The energy around the exposure feels like it's going to bring relief more than devastation. Yes, there might be initial hurt. Yes, you might have to grieve the version of the connection you thought you had. But underneath that, there's going to be the solid ground of knowing, the clarity of understanding what was actually real versus what was performance, the freedom of no longer having to doubt yourself or question your perception. What's also coming through is that this situation isn't just about one person lying. It's about you learning to trust yourself in the face of contradictory information. It's about you developing the strength to believe what you sense even when it conflicts with what you're being told. It's about you recognizing that people can be convincing, can be charismatic, can make you feel crazy for doubting them, and still be lying to you. This reflection invites you to consider what believing yourself, even without external proof, would require you to acknowledge about this connection and about this person's integrity. You might be wondering what to do as you wait for truth to surface. What I'm sensing is that you don't need to force anything. You don't need to become a detective or set traps or demand confessions. The truth is coming on its own timeline. What you can do is prepare yourself internally, shore up your boundaries, reconnect with your own worth. Remember that someone lying about you or your connection says everything about them and nothing about your value. What's important for you to understand is that when lies about a connection get exposed, it's not just about that one instance of dishonesty. It's usually a symptom of a larger pattern. Someone who lies about how they talk about you to others is likely lying in other ways too. Someone who can misrepresent something as intimate as a relationship is demonstrating a fundamental disconnect from integrity. And that's information you need to make informed decisions about whether this connection serves your highest good. You might be hoping that when the truth comes out, this person will have a good explanation, that there will be context that makes it understandable, forgivable, less devastating than it appears. And maybe there will be context, but context doesn't erase impact. Reasons don't undo the confusion and self-doubt you've experienced as a result of someone's dishonesty. And you get to decide what you do with that information once you have it. What's coming through for the immediate future is a period of revelation and recalibration. You're going to see things you didn't see before. You're going to understand dynamics that were confusing. You're going to have your intuition validated in ways that are both satisfying and sobering. And in that clarity, you're going to have choices to make about what kind of connections you're willing to maintain and what standards of honesty and integrity are non-negotiable for you going forward. The exposure that's coming isn't punishment. It's not the universe being cruel or trying to hurt you. It's correction. It's the natural consequence of deception meeting reality. It's life giving you the information you need to make empowered choices instead of continuing to operate in partial darkness while someone else controls the narrative is less than #0. 5 hash is greater than. And that gift, even wrapped in pain, is ultimately an act of protection. You might be feeling protective of this person even as you sense their dishonesty. You might be tempted to make excuses for them, to minimize what they've done, to focus on their good qualities and convince yourself that the lying isn't that significant. But what I'm sensing is that you owe it to yourself to see clearly, to acknowledge the full truth of what's been happening, to recognize that someone's capacity for intimacy in private doesn't excuse their dishonesty in public or their manipulation of how your connection is perceived, and that recognizing that doesn't make you harsh or unforgiving. It makes you honest. This reflection invites you to consider what you'll need from yourself and possibly from others to navigate the emotional impact of having your intuition confirmed in ways that might hurt. So as you move through this period, pay attention to what surfaces. Pay attention to information that comes to you, whether directly or indirectly. Pay attention to your body's response when truth reveals itself. Because even if your mind tries to rationalize or minimize, your body will recognize truth when it arrives. Trust that you have the strength to handle whatever gets exposed. Trust that knowing is better than wondering, even when knowing is painful. Trust that you deserve connections built on honesty, and that this revelation, however it unfolds, is clearing space for exactly that. For relationships where you don't have to question reality, where you're not being gaslit or manipulated, where what you sense and what you're told actually align. The truth is coming. Let it come, and let it set you free.